Adjustment meeting to order. First thing in business is approval of March 5th, 2026 minutes. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the March 2026 minutes.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Okay, the first thing we're going to change the order of applications here, and we're going to do 2026-10 first, which is Heather Smith at 661 Plummer Road.
You need to swear the speakers in.
Yeah, oh, okay, I need to swear, and speakers if they'll stand, so Charlie can swear you in.
Everyone's planning to speak. You can stand and raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the statement you make tonight to be the truth to the best of your information and belief?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is swearing speakers.
Oh, okay, yeah, it is, okay. Okay,
Good evening, everyone. This application is for a variance to reduce the minimum lot width at the building line from 250 feet to 173.60 feet for the lot subdivision. The site is around 105 acres, is zoned A1 and is accessed from Plummer Road. Overall, staff recommends approval of this request. Shown here is the aerial view of the property and the topography map. So currently there are two existing residential structures that were established under prior ownership around 2017. In addition to the existing residences, the property includes two garages, a carport and a barn, as well as cemetery located along the western edge of the property. Based on the submitted materials and justification letter, the existing residences are located approximately 120 feet apart, and one residence is currently positioned approximately 44.75 feet from an existing property line, creating an existing non-conforming condition. The proposed subdivision line has been designed to address this condition by placing the new lot line between the two homes in such a way that both residences will meet the required 50-foot setback from the new property boundary. Following subdivision, each residence will be located approximately 60 feet from the new lot line, thereby meeting and exceeding the setback requirements of the A1 zoning district. The proposed tract will contain approximately 5 acres, which meets the density requirement of one dwelling unit per 5 acres in the A1 district as per the survey plan provided by the applicant. Access to the newly created tract will be provided through an existing 12-foot wide access easement extending from Plummer Road. In reviewing this request, the board is reminded again of the criteria outlined under KRS 100.243, which governs the granting of variances. Before any variance is granted, the board must find that the variance will not affect public health, safety, or welfare. It will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity. It will not cause hazard or nuisance to the public, and it will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of zoning regulation. Based on the criteria, staff finds that the request meets all the required findings, as the need for the variance arises from unique condition on the property, where two homes built prior to the current ownership are located in close proximity and limit the ability to create conforming lots. Strict application of the lot width requirement would prevent a reasonable subdivision while still meeting the required setbacks, creating an unnecessary hardship. Staff also finds that the request represents the minimum relief necessary, will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare, and will not alter the character of the area. In terms of findings again, the project site is a 105-acre parcel zone A1 and contains 2 existing residential structures located in close proximity. Section 4.13D of the zoning ordinance requires a minimum lot width of 250 feet at the building line, which cannot be met due to the existing placement of the 2 residences. The requested variance arises from unique circumstances related to existing development on the property and does not generally apply to other lands in the vicinity. Strict application of the ordinance would limit reasonable subdivision of the property and prevent both residences from meeting required 50-foot setback standards. The hardship is not self-imposed as the existing structures were established under previous ownership. Based on the criteria set forth in KRS 100.243, the requested variance will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare, and does not represent an unreasonable circumvention of the zoning regulations. The requested variance represents the minimum relief necessary to allow subdivision while maintaining compliance with setback requirements. In conclusion, staff recommends approval of the variance to reduce the minimum lot width at the building line from 250 feet to 173.6 feet at the property address 661 Plummer Road, with the standard conditions of approval as mentioned in the staff report. Thank you. Does the board have any questions for the staff?
Just like to hear from the applicant.
So should we put it back on the topography road?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Is the applicant here?
The surveyor is and the property owner is as well. I'm the surveyor.
Okay, so you're gonna speak on their behalf?
I can, yes, sir.
Okay.
So this division, they need a 5-acre cutout to separate these 2 houses that are on this 105-acre farm. And the purpose of this separation is to allow the owner's daughter to have that 5-acre piece where she's currently residing. And in order to divide this, where that house is, as I explained with the minimum lot width, that's the best I could do as far as the minimum variance to allow a reasonable separation between the 2 houses. And that is what the variance request is for that lot line here. And I have a full-scale plat if you all would like to see that.
Anybody like to see that?
Charlie, do you see?
No, I think it's fine.
This one's fine with me. Yeah, this one's.
Okay, any further questions for the applicant's representative? Okay, do I hear a motion?
Well, let me ask
Okay.
this, was there any, phone calls, neighbor concerns or anything? Okay. Okay.
I saw that there were cemeteries listed in there's, okay. Well, and then there was like one on the property, but, there was 2 outside of the property, right?
There's 2 on the farm completely. And I haven't met any of y'all in person. I'm Zach Heath, by the way. The cemetery that's on the property, it's a pretty old cemetery. It's actually pretty cool to find. The date on the tombstone read back, as far as the death date, was 1898. So it's like a township or a homestead cemetery. There's also evidence of old cisterns on the property as well. And once you get back into the further southeast of this property, there's a second cemetery, which I did not go down there as it was not in the scope of this project, but there are 2 cemeteries, one of which is on the 5-acre tract.
The notification said it was blank all the way over to Plummer Road. So the other cemeteries that were listed on there, I tried to look online, find various different things, and I didn't see it. So they're within the property.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. I was just making sure that it didn't, it wasn't like a church's or something, and they didn't get notified because I didn't see address or person of contact, so it's within their own property.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, I can't find any records at all for this property, whereas, not the property, but the cemetery. So it's a just an ancient cemetery, which I assume was owned by the previous owners.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve application number S-2026-10, the 661 Plummer Road location, approve it in accordance with staff findings and recommendations.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Okay, the next one is S 2026-08. I wasn't even ready for that one.
6:30.
Yep, 630 Fennel Pike. Is the owner here, or? Okay, great.
The second application for today is for a conditional use permit request for a secondary residence at the property located at 630 Fennel Pike. The site is around 35.83 acres, is zoned A1 agricultural, and is accessed from Fennel Pike. Overall, staff recommends denial of this request. Shown here is the aerial view of the property. The site is currently developed with an existing single-family residence, which is approximately 2,000 square feet. It also has an above-ground pool and a 16 feet by 24 feet workshop structure. Shown here is the contour map of the site, which shows the site's topography is pretty hilly and steep. The applicant proposes to construct the secondary single-family residence towards the south side of the existing primary residence, with approximately more than 100 feet separation between them. And the new dwelling is proposed to be approximately 24 feet by 36 feet in size. The site has an existing driveway for the primary residence, which runs parallel to the eastern property line, and the proposed residence will be provided with a new driveway connected to Fennel Pike. The secondary dwelling would be situated over 200 feet from the nearest property line and is designed to maintain adequate separation from existing structures while considering site topography, access, and utility connections. So section 4.12L of the zoning ordinance permits secondary single-family residences for family members or farm workers as a conditional use in the A1 zoning district. Per the schedule of area and dimension regulations, the A1 zoning district allows one dwelling unit per 5 acres. With 35.83 acres, the subject property meets the density requirement to accommodate both the existing primary residence and the proposed secondary dwelling. As per Article 10, Section Q of the zoning of the Georgetown-Scott County Subdivision and Development Regulations, all lots shall have either frontage on an existing public street, private street, or an approved access easement or a driveway serving a maximum of 3 lots. The property is currently served by an access easement that already serves 8 lots as seen in the image, which exceeds the recommended standard. The proposed secondary dwelling would add more traffic, including daily trips and service access, further burdening an already overutilized easement. Since these access easements are intended to serve a limited number of lots, this creates an access condition that is not adequate for safe and efficient use. Based on this, staff finds that the request does not meet the intent of the regulations and may adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. In terms of findings, the project site is 35.83 acre parcel zone A1. Section 4.12L permits secondary residences as a conditional use in the A1 district. The A1 zoning district permits one dwelling unit per 5 acres. The subject property meets this requirement. The proposed secondary dwelling meets the minimum setback requirements of 50 feet from all property lines. The subject property is accessed via an existing access easement that currently serves 8 lots, exceeding the recommended standard of Article 10 of the Subdivision and Development Regulations. The proposed secondary dwelling would increase traffic on the existing access easement. The increased traffic would further burden an already overutilized access arrangement, raising concerns related to safety and access. The proposal is not consistent with the intent of the Subdivision and Development Regulations and may adversely affect public health, safety, and welfare. In conclusion, staff recommends denial of this request for a secondary residence at the subject property. Should the board approve the application, staff recommends including the standard conditions of approval as mentioned in the staff report with an additional condition, number 8, which states that if a new driveway is proposed or required, the applicant shall provide off-site improvements to the existing access easement, serving at least the adjacent 3 lots to ensure safe and adequate access.
Questions?
Not yet, I'd like to hear from the applicant.
Okay. All right, if we can hear from the applicant.
What do you want to hear?
Well, just, one thing I'd like to know, how many people's gonna be living in this secondary residence?
2.
2 people, okay?
Yes.
And how much traffic do you think will be generated due to that?
Well, no more than normal because they've lived with us before and they're moving in again. And while they're living with us, I'm going to be helping them build this.
So 1 or 2 cars is what they have?
Yes. I've raised 5 children in this house. I'm down to 1. So technically, the traffic's down, right?
Okay, I was down there, I rode down by that property, and your house is all the way in the back
Yes.
of that driveway, right,
There's 2 residences past that one.
past where you live?
Yes.
Okay.
So, the yellow line is very in
There's a
the.
house, there's a house and there's a mobile house and a mobile home past those.
Has staff had any phone calls or complaints from this application?
And they meet every other requirement minus the 7 where you can't have another lot onto that road. Everything else is met, all the setbacks and everything.
So if this were gonna be the 3rd residence on that access easement, that would be fine. At that time, I assumed that's what it was.
Say that again, Charlie.
Yeah, if this were gonna be the 3rd residence on that private easement, it would be fine. But without going to county standards, 3 is all you can have on a private drive. And this one's already got 7 or 8.
8.
And so that's the reason for it. Not frankly that this is the only violation we've got in the county, we've got probably several of them. But several of them that I know about were actually done without our knowledge, without any applications. And the ordinance says very clearly, 3 is the maximum. After that, you've got to go to county standards. Because otherwise, they've got, they got size, they got everything, except they've just got too many people already on the private drive.
How many cars go out that driveway at a day's time?
The
The
private,
whole driveway?
I've never, I've never taken account, but,
It's not a continuous flow or?
oh, no, I'm retired, the Westall's retired, Larry's retired, the rest of my neighbor just passed away last month. So, and Steve, actually, we only have, I think we only have three working families, 2 or 3 working families on the private lane. And most of us are kids or they grew up together, gone.
So you've
it's-
spoken with your neighbors?
No. No, we're back in the woods. We're kind of to ourselves a lot, so, but they've received, I'm sure they've received the notices. I received a notice. I've not heard anything from any of them. Like I said, my next door neighbor just passed away. She was all in the house.
Yeah, I misunderstood. I thought you said that they were all very close because your kids grew up together and everything. I wondered if you had talked to them about what you're doing, if everybody was okay. That's all.
Oh, no, I haven't spoken with anyone.
So there really, in essence, wouldn't be a lot of additional traffic.
No. My son's out at my house every day already.
Charlie, what's your feelings on this?
Well, the statute says specifically, we do not have authority to approve something that's a direct violation of the ordinance, so.
So I know that the land is already locked, so it's 36 acres. I cannot divide that up. They've already told us that, but I've always been told that I would be able to have a tenant house. If that's the only way I could build another residence, if I build a tenant
And
house.
that's true, but you still come up against that maximum of 3.
Right.
And that's, I don't recall now when that went into effect, but that's been the rule for quite some time. Probably not as long as this, subdivision has been there.
Mhm.
In fact, the way I learned about it, I represented someone in court, and they were just describing the circumstances that we were, getting ready for.
Mhm.
I had no idea. Drove out by there, and this was years ago, and then realized there were solid lots. So it was done in violation, and it still is. On the other hand, it's been there long enough so that it's not something that's be currently enforced.
Right.
But we do not have authority to approve further violations of the ordinance.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, do I hear a motion?
Charlie, do we really have a choice? I guess
I
not.
hate that.
I hate these kind of situations. I really do. I just can't see where he's wanting to put this would really be a problem.
And while I probably shouldn't give you any practical view of it, legally, no, we can't.
That's all.
Now, as a practical matter, is a neighbor going to rise up and file suit against us? Because if they do, they will win, and the court will put a stop to this. If nobody out there is going to rise up and say anything, well, then the world would forget it. But on the other hand, the next time we say we can't approve violations, well, somebody with a big mouth is going to say, well, I saw you do it. Won't be me, Janet, but it might be you.
Won't be the first time.
And it won't be the first time.
Yeah, so I built my own house on the property, almost 30 years ago, but I would love to teach my son to do the same thing. I think it's a good thing to do. It's a little starter house, so, and he's not gonna be in it very long.
I would feel better if you just talk to me before. Like Marlene just said, that the neighbors rise up and you haven't talked to them, it's, you have major problems.
I just keep going back, this is why we had a board of adjustments.
Right.
If we didn't need board adjustments, we would go on, everything would be exactly what the staff says and recommends. So why have a board of adjustments if we can't make adjustments in situations.
Well, but you can, and there's numerous things that you adjust all the time.
Right.
It's just where there's a specific prohibition, you do not have the authority to do that.
Because it's not a county.
No, this is a county ordinance.
I thought you said it was state.
No, this is a county ordinance. No, state has no rules whatever on what you can put on a county, driveway as opposed to a county standard road.
So if this was legal, what would be done to that road to where there's 6 accesses off
It
of
was
them?
built to a county standard.
Would it have to be blacktopped?
It had, yes, blacktop.
So if it was
22
blacktopped, it would be a
22
different,
feet, it would
totally
have-
different.
It would have to have, all the
Yeah.
substrate to it. I mean, it would have to look like a county road.
Yeah.
Some of the county roads aren't too good at
Well,
conditions.
Some of the county roads could not pass our current standards. And in fact, some of them haven't passed the standards for probably, since we've had standards.
So is there anything else you could do to help his situation?
Well, no, not from where he is, because if he had another driveway, I mean, how far are you from, what's on that way, John?
It's all Fennel.
That's what I said.
No, you're all
Oh.
down. I'm saying the other way, where do you live, John?
Oh, yeah, we don't have access the other way.
Well, I know you don't, but I'm saying how far is it?
Well, it's what, 2.5, 3 miles there,
Yeah.
at least?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's probably too long to be putting in a driveway. But that would not have to be,
Yeah.
hey, if you had, so get your son a 4-wheel drive. And cut across,
Yeah.
But that's, that's the problem. And as I said, the board can still make a motion, second, and vote. It's just that we're not supposed to do something that's in clear violation. Yeah.
Well, I'll go ahead and make the motion of denial on S 2020.
Yes.
Pardon me?
Wants to speak.
I was
Somebody else.
curious, I was curious if it
Can you
makes
come
any,
to the podium, please?
yeah. I was just curious if it made any difference if we use the existing driveway as compared to adding a new easement
No.
onto the road.
No, the problem is it's the main trunk that you've got.
Mm-hmm.
That's got more than 3 tracks going off of it. Or
Right.
3 houses off of it.
Okay.
So that's the problem. Even if you, with 8 of them out there, if you shared drives with 4 of them, you still have one too many.
Right.
Because
And
the
then,
main trunk already has too many lots coming off of it.
right, yeah, okay.
This is neither here nor there, but in the conditions of approval.
Oh, the pointer, yeah.
In the conditions of approval, one thing staff talked about was if you were to improve the road. And so with staff's current interpretation, with the access point coming here, you would, and really actually the existing driveway is closer to here, correct? Yes. Yeah. It's this stretch right here of the road that is above the 3 access points. And so this section that flows through here would not need improvements. It's only this stretch from here to the driveway that would need improvements to facilitate additional access onto the property. Because at that
Blacktop
point,
that little
only
section.
3 parcels are
And
going
then
to
you can
access
do what
off
you
the
want.
unimproved one.
I do too.
It is not something that's part of this use condition, and that we have not reviewed it. Probably flip that,
I
yeah.
think you're backwards.
Yeah.
I think it's the point from Fennel all the
Yeah.
way until your property line, so further past,
Closer. Well, actually, because you only,
wherever the 3.
yeah, 1, 2.
Well, what about 16?
The point is, we don't need to improve the entirety of Fennel, or the entirety of this access easement coming off of Fennel. So, after this motion, we'd be more than happy to talk options and draw things out and figure out how we could do the least amount of improvement to figure out how to support this use. But at this time, staff can recommend denial based on the existing conditions.
These aren't.
So how many feet do you think it would be that they would have to like blacktop or whatever? What is that? Do you know?
Still too many.
That's a long way.
That's a long way.
Yeah.
It is a long way. And I'm going just by memory, but
Yeah.
I know the time I drove back there, it's a good, perfect piece.
It's over half a mile
Yeah.
road. How many feet apart are the?
How many feet apart from the existing to the proposed house?
Oh, a couple hundred yards.
Holden, nobody's called about this
That's a
either.
lot of ways.
You all recommend denial. You all recommend denial.
Is there anything that you all can do to
I know,
help them
mitigate this.
avoid this?
You all tried, you all played with it.
Again, just for clarification, the application before the board tonight is a use permit. It is not a variance as you guys previously heard. So with the conditional use permit, we do not believe there are adequate findings to justify the issuance of that permit.
All right,
And that is
we can't
staff's
do this
perspective
then.
tonight based on current conditions.
Who's in here with us to
I
fix
hate
this?
these situations.
An engineer?
But Your Honor, go ahead and make your motion.
Make you go through another lawsuit. Well, he's already got a motion on the floor.
Well, if it fails.
She said I didn't hear it.
It doesn't have a second yet, does it?
No. You
No,
wanna
there's
leave
no
it till your motion off that.
Yeah.
Bless
The
it.
motion for S 2026-08 at 630 Fennel Pike is to deny it.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all against?
Aye.
You brave
I know
woman.
what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying, but I hate these kind of situations when there's not a lot we can do about it. When the ordinance is so cut and dry, I understand.
Oh, I don't like it.
I don't have to like it or agree with it, but that's the way it is. So, okay, sorry, guys.
But it sounds like you got another way you can go get back with them and see what they would actually, you might still be able to do something with it. You might have to do some upkeep up on the road or whatever.
Who would they see? An engineer to help?
Do what?
Where would they go from here? Like Thoroughbred? Like I don't know
think they
how.
do anything, but
I don't know.
they have changed.
Okay, the next one is S 2026-09, 100 Lighthouse Way. This is for conditional use permit.
You know what they need to do? They just need to have a shared driveway. Make it wide.
So the last application for today is again for a conditional use permit request for a secondary residence at the property located at 100 Lighthouse Way. The site is around 14.12 acres, is zoned A1 and is accessed from Lighthouse Way. Overall, staff recommends approval of this request. Shown here is the aerial view of the property.
I remember her.
So the site is currently developed with a primary residence, a barn and multiple horse paths. Both the existing primary residence and the barn meets the required 50-foot setbacks for the A1 zone. The proposed dwelling will be located towards the eastern portion of the site near the existing barn and primary residence as seen in the image. It is proposed to be around 26 feet by 38 feet in size and constructed on a slab foundation. The proposed location is intended to maintain functional proximity to existing structures while accommodating existing site features including horse pads and accessory structures. Access to the proposed secondary residence will be provided via the existing driveway extending from Lighthouse Way, and no new access points or easements are proposed as part of this application.
What is that?
The existing residence is served by an on-site septic system, and the staff received information from Commonwealth Septic Service for the proposed location of the new septic tank location, as seen in the image that was provided by them. The proposed structure meets the required 50-foot setbacks and is located around 60 to 70 feet from the existing barn. While the site does have some constraints due to horse pads and existing structures, the placement is reasonable and maintains appropriate separation. Overall, staff recommends that the request is consistent with the intent of the A1 zoning district and will not adversely affect public health, safety, or the character of the area. In terms of findings again, the project site is a 14.12 acre parcel zone A1. Section 4.12L permits secondary residences for for family members or farm workers as a conditional use in the A1 district. The A1 zone permits one dwelling per 5 acres. The subject property meets this density requirement. The proposal meets the 50-foot minimum setback requirements from all property lines, and approval of the conditional use permit is not anticipated to adversely impact public health, safety, or welfare or alter the character of the general vicinity. In conclusion, staff recommends approval of this request for a conditional use permit for a secondary residence at the subject property. The staff recommends adding an additional condition, which is condition number 7, which states that the applicant shall build the secondary residence at least 100 feet from the primary residence to eliminate the need of a variance should the property be subdivided in the future.
So utilizing the aerial imagery that we had, we did a couple of measurements. And so as Ms. Tucson pointed out, there's plenty of separation between the proposed structure and the existing residence. There's plenty of separation between the existing residence and this barn here. The one spot on the development where there's not 100 feet between these structures is the proposed secondary dwelling in the existing barn. And so in the event that this were to move forward and a subdivision was proposed, we could basically subdivide the property and separate this residence from this barn, but it'd be unlikely that we would approve any sort of subdivision that separated this secondary dwelling from this barn due to the distance between the two being only 60 to 70 feet, as that would require a variance from our regulations. And so as we look at the conditions that we placed on that, we are specific to require the 100-foot setback between the residences. But at time of subdivision, all buildings would be analyzed for that 50-foot setback from property lines.
Any questions for the staff? Does the applicant have anything to add? Questions to the applicant?
This is for a family member or a farm worker?
Family member or friends, like, we moved from Michigan, we had a big house, now we have a smaller house, and we have company, so it would just be, more convenient. Or my husband and I say, for when we get older, and we can't go up and down the steps in our house, we'll probably move into that one.
That's
Because it
like
will
what
be a
David
single
told me.
story, for us.
Now, Charlie, if I'm correct, isn't this what the court's working on, the AD, the accessory dwellings?
The secondary dwelling can not be the primary dwelling, right? She said that they could move into that later on to downsize.
So let's just understand that right now, our county does not utilize the terminology ADU or accessory dwelling unit. With that said, the proposed language in relation to accessory dwelling units in Scott County basically declares the larger home the primary and the secondary home the accessory. There's no requirement in the existing draft, which, by the way, will be at Planning Commission next Thursday again, that limits the occupation of those structures and prohibits the property owner from living in one or the other. And I'm going to look to Charlie on this, though. Staff's bigger concern is the way our conditional use permit is set up for secondary dwellings is currently the language is specific to family members and farm workers. I'm not going to define what family is.
Oneself.
But it's just be aware as you guys look to make this decision, that the intent is, again, to provide housing for
The
family
odds are they're
members.
related, it just may be a little
A
further.
little
than
further
yours.
back, yeah.
But I'm sure they're related.
Okay. That's important.
Any further questions?
Charlie, since this is something in the works, do we have to make a decision on this tonight, or can they come back before us?
But what's in the works is really not this. I mean, it's very similar to this, but
Yeah.
it really isn't this. This is according to the rules we have currently.
Right.
And according to the recommendation, it satisfies that.
One other thing to note, if in the future, because all proposed text amendments don't exist until they're adopted by the legislative bodies. It's all ifs and maybes. If the county were to adopt ADU regulations, and this structure met those regulations, there's no formal process by which we would then, have to come back in front of the board and declare that this is no longer a secondary residence and this is an accessory dwelling unit. All that would happen is if in the future they reapplied, they would, for another residence on the property or another ADU, depending on the scenario, they would just establish that they met whatever those requirements are. And so as Mr. Perkins pointed out, staff's analysis is under current regulations, this meet current standards and should be approved. If you'd like, I can do the math quickly though and tell you whether or not this could be an ADU in the future. This is underneath 1,000 square feet for the total structure size. How large is your primary right now, do you know?
2,400.
This would very likely meet the requirements for an ADU in the future if something happens.
Yeah, it's under 1,000 square feet.
I know planning's main concern is people moving into their ADU as their main.
Any other questions?
We just clarified that the application had ADU on it as well as the secondary dwelling, and so we're ignoring the ADU detail on there that was written in, accepting the secondary dwelling detail that's on there, correct?
Yes.
Staff understands that clearly as well,
More than that, we
obviously.
recommend approval of a secondary residence, not speak to ADU status.
We
Right.
don't recognize it yet.
I'll make a motion to approve S 2026-09 at 100 Lighthouse Way based upon the conditions of approval from the staff.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Thank you.
I know that one concern is just people moving into their secondary ADU when that happens in the future. But that's a concern that's been
What's the
voiced.
concern?
That people move out of their primary residence into their secondary residence and then utilize it instead. That's the language issue right now. Am I wrong? That's been
So, yeah.
voiced to me multiple times, and then I read it in the paper as well, so.
Yeah, so I highly recommend anybody interested in accessory dwelling units apply next Thursday's planning commission meeting because we're going to go back through it.
Is that 5 or 6?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
right in this room. With that said, there is a occupancy requirement that's currently written into the code that inside Scott County, the property owner would have to live as their primary residence either in the accessory dwelling or the primary residence. At the same time, ifs and maybes again, in the state legislature right now, there is some language that's being floated around that would eliminate that occupancy requirement at the state level. And so all of this, again, is subject matter to change, and we'll discuss it at length on Thursday night.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, I think another thing on our agenda was the elections of officers.
Charlie, does this have to be done in real time?
What you mean? Like
Can we
tonight?
adjourn the meeting, I guess?
No, we gotta
We
do
have
that,
to-
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, like executive session, I was like, what are you talking about?
Okay, do I,
If I may make a recommendation as well, it may be beneficial for the board to nominate as a suite of candidates. Basically just make the nomination for both the chairman as well as the vice chairman at the same time, and then go from there.
That's really the way we've always done it, because with a group no larger than this, it's kind of hard to have nominations and all that stuff, you know, more formally. So, now, obviously, if you don't agree, we don't have to do that, but that's always been an easier way to do it.
Well, Tommy, you'll
Okay.
accept the
Yeah.
chairmanship?
if you take advice.
No, no. I've got too much going on.
I nominate
can't.
Terry. He's been an amazing example for the Board of Adjustments chair and for all of his experience with utilities and with the KU.
Is that all right with you?
boards.
That's fine.
Okay, all right, there we are. Make a motion for Tommy to be chairperson and Terry is co-chair,
Okay. Oh, co-chair or vice chair?
vice chair.
Okay, and then, all right, that's your nomination now. Is there a motion for nominations to cease?
Yep. Yep.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we're stuck with you guys.
You're gonna get in
It's
right,
like welcome
Terry.
and now
I
you're
know
vice chair.
it.
Yeah.